Salutations, generations, and welcome back to another episode of The Soundtrack Dude, a show about music from the silver screen to the stage and beyond! As always, I'm your host, Chris, I'm married, and I love dinosaurs. And this is our first actual review episode. Woo! I will be reviewing one of my favorites and a classic, The Last of the Mohicans. If you haven't seen this movie, then I highly recommend you do so. It's a gripping story that's masterfully told and beautifully shot. Fair warning though, it is rated R and can get pretty graphic. Now, this isn't a film review, so I'm not going to go too in-depth about the plot and details about the film, but I am going to give you a quick background just so you can have some context. Set in 1757, it's about 3 fur trappers caught up in the French and Indian War, sometimes called the 7 Years' War. These trappers are the last remaining members of a Native American tribe called the Mohicans. One of them, Hawkeye, is adopted and portrayed by Daniel Day-Lewis, and he really does a fantastic job, as always. Also starring Madeleine Stowe, Russell Means, and others, the film is directed by Michael Mann, and as you can see, it is well received among critics and the general audience alike. Based off a novel by the same name, the film came out in the year of 1992. The same year this guy was born. Look at him. Ain't he a cutie? See, this is the dawn, in my opinion, of a whole new era of movie music. Such composers as Hans Zimmer, John Powell, and James Newton Howard were finding their footing in the industry and starting a revolution. Which brings us to our 2 composers we'll be discussing today. That's right, not 1, but 2 individuals composed this score. Our champions being Trevor Jones and Randy Edelman. Initially, Mann just wanted to use Jones for the score and try out a more experimental electronic sound. But thankfully that didn't happen. The studio didn't like the direction he was taking it in, a little bit too edgy for the time. Plus, they wanted a more orchestral sound for a historical fiction epic. The switch was made pretty late in the game, however, and it put our composer at a disadvantage. Basically, Jones was scrambling. With deadlines fast approaching, they decided to bring on Randy Edelman to try and fill the gaps of transitional cues and so forth. Although most of the big moments were done by Jones, Edelman remarkably received co-credit for the score. And what he wrote was decent enough, but the bummer here is that since 2 guys wrote it, it was ineligible for nomination for an Oscar. Dang it! To the joy of many, they released the soundtrack the same year the movie came out. However, for some reason, they formatted it pretty weird. Here are the track listings. At first glance, it's not an issue, until you realize that they split the work in half. See, these are the tracks composed by Trevor Jones, and these are the ones composed by Randy Edelman. The biggest problem here is that this track feels like the definitive finale of the work, and it should because it's the last cue of the film. But then it just transitions into this next track and it's super underwhelming and it's confusing and awkward and weird. What's worse is that the main theme never shows back up, so you're just left feeling abandoned and lost. It's especially weird because Edelman's work is largely bland. Now, I don't mean to bash the composer here. I really admire Randy Edelman. I do. I think he's a great composer. But you can kind of tell here that this is meant to be filler music, and it really shows. Like I said, he never incorporates the main theme, and it kind of removes the identity from the work. The weird part is that his contributions sound eerily similar to his 1993 score, Gettysburg. I love that soundtrack too. In fact, I consider it his greatest achievement. But the problem here is that I heard Gettysburg first, so I really can't associate these tracks without automatically thinking about Gettysburg. I mean, just listen to these tracks and how similar they are. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but I'd say that sounds pretty darn close. The first half of The Last of the Mohicans score is really good, and I very much enjoy listening to it. The theme is well integrated, and it's a perfect example of leitmotifs in action. Still, as delectable as the music is, it has its faults. Try as they did, those synthesizers just can't substitute the sound of a full orchestra. When synth is used, it's pretty obvious. Like this, listen for yourself. Sounds like it'd be pretty epic. It's not bad, I can even see how it would be really epic, but I mean, you see what I'm saying here, right? Something just seems missing. Empty. Here's a good example of when the music totally succeeds. It's a little graphic though, so fair warning. Also, spoiler alert? Here we go. We enter here at the end of the grand chase. Hawkeye and his brother have closed in on the bad guys and are facing off for one last battle, backdropped by the majestic Smoky Mountains. As our heroes enter the scene, the timpani rolls and the main theme cues, subtly but ever present. It's a dramatic, emotionally charged scene, and it always gets me. Fast forward to the year 2000. Something remarkable happened. The score was re-recorded and re-released. They did this to correct some issues from the first time around. Guess I wasn't the only one who didn't care for the synth. Performed by the Royal Scottish National Orchestra and conducted by Joel McNeely, they really took their best swing at it again. They beefed up the sound. They even added some cues they left out of the first score. I mean, sounds like a dream, right? Well, not exactly. Some odd choices were made, like in the track Promontory, my favorite track in the whole score. It's one of my favorite tracks of all time. For some reason, they greatly reduced the bass strings in this piece, and I think it was to their discredit. It really affected the mood of the piece significantly. Other than that, there's just some mixing that doesn't feel quite as well balanced as the original. This is most noticeable in tracks Main Titles and The Kiss. It's just, something seems missing. It's like the percussion or something I can't really put my Alright, so basically all of the action cues are vastly improved. I mean, this is exactly what I wanted. That's a track I played earlier, but re-recorded and like way better. And what's more is the stuff they added is really good. It wasn't like more filler stuff, it was more of this amazing gripping action. Just listen to this epic cue. Oh, I love that part. What's even better is that they rearranged the track listings to actually be in chronological order. Thank you! Now, Edelman's work fits more organically into the soundtrack as a whole instead of sticking out like a sore thumb. Now for the re-recorded album, they did leave out a contemporary lyrical piece that was used in the movie called I Will Find You by the group Clannad. It's not horrible, but it's just not for me. Much of this soundtrack is timeless, but that is not. That is dated. The re-recorded album is just done so well. It's well organized, it's got a great flow. Heck, I might even say that I like it better than the original. It's hard to say really, because some of the cues in the original are simply unbeatable, which is why I like to listen to these two together. I take a little bit of that and a little bit of that and I smoosh them together and I got my soundtrack. Well, allow me to ruin things just a little bit for you. Take a listen to this. Uncanny. So the main theme wasn't originally composed for the film. Oh well. To be honest, I really don't see this as much of an issue. This isn't the first film score to aggregate its pre-existing theme, and it certainly won't be the last. In my opinion, it's very well done. It's tastefully used, and I can still appreciate the soundtrack for what it is. So, without further ado, my scoring. First, we have paired with its source material. This was kind of a tough one, but I mean, the music really fits so well, with the exception of that Clannad piece. Kind of throws me out of it whenever it comes on. But for the most part, synth exceptions, I really do like it, and I think it fits the movie just about perfectly. And for that, I give it a 92%. On its own, however, I find this to be one of those scores that I can listen to at any point of the year and in any mood, and it will just bring me comfort. I love listening to it. It's got great re-listenability to it. I love it. It's got flaws, but I listen to the scores together, so I'm gonna count them together. And for that, I'm gonna give it a 95%. And there you have it, my scores. All in all, this is an iconic, memorable, gorgeous piece of art that never ceases to capture my attention. It's beautiful, haunting, and it's perfect for this time of year. Well, that does it for this episode, everybody, but tune in next time when we have our first compare-contrast. I will be covering The Jungle Books. There's a lot to talk about, so you won't want to miss it. Thank you for watching, my lovely soundtrackies. It's been a pleasure having you. So until next time, keep listening with your eyes and seeing with your ears. Chris out! Hey, just wanted to say thank you really quick for watching, and thanks to everyone out there for all the support and encouragement. I really, truly do appreciate it. Shout out to Stay Metal Bros and Alex Hetty for helping me film that awesome intro. We had a lot of fun doing it, and we like to entertain you guys, so hopefully you enjoyed that and the rest of this video. Special thanks also to my wife Samantha, and my mom, and my dad, and everyone else out there, friends and family who have been supporting Soundtrack Dude from the start and as it continues to mature. Just thank you for your viewership and thank you for your participation. Hopefully I won't disappoint you as these videos continue to come out. So thanks very much and have an awesome one, guys. Woo!